Hello, everybody. Wasn't a very cool entrance, but I hope the exit will be cooler. So my name is Kristjan. I'm the CEO of coModule, and our company connects vehicles. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about our company, then what we see how connecting vehicle technology changed the value chain of vehicle sales and production, a little bit of our autonomous prototype, and then what we think is going to be the future of also light electric vehicles. So my team and I, we used to build electric racing cars, and we were one of the best teams in the world doing that. And electric racing cars are very, very fun. They're much funner actually than combustion electric cars because it's extremely fast. But the real potential is actually in light electrics. And this is what we understood when we were doing our electric car projects. Even today, there's 130 million of light electric vehicles on the streets in the world, and their sales are growing 30% a year. And why is it important? It's because of two very big problems our world is facing. Number one is urbanization. So probably everybody of you are in the geo world, you know that more people now live in cities than they do in urban areas. And that's the biggest challenge of the 21st century. And this means that there's just too many cars. And we can talk about creating autonomous cars, or we can talk about predicting where you can find a parking space to reduce the load on the city about 15%. But I mean, this won't change the fundamental problem that there are more than 15% of people coming to the cities each year. And the central of the cities is not going to go bigger. So you have to get people from large cars to single personal vehicles. And the other part is pollution. 7 million people a year die prematurely because of air pollution. And it's not only a problem in Asia, it's also a problem in Europe. In Paris, for example, people live 8 to 24 months less than they would if they would live in somewhere in the countryside. So we wanted to tackle this problem. But there is a problem with this problem. And I'll paint you a picture. So this is a beautiful car from the 1930s, whereas this is a modern, fully electric car. And the car does not only connect you with the rest of the world, but it also connects the car with the manufacturer, allowing them to gather highly valuable data. So yesterday we talked about Tesla now mapping the streets, but that's just kind of the second generation. What made them really successful was the fact that they see when you use the vehicle, how long rides they take, how what you like, what you don't like. They also see how the batteries perform, how the motor performs. And in the end, that means they can make tailor-made vehicles exactly to their customers and do resales and keep people happy. And now if you want to get people from these kind of vehicles onto light vehicles, there is quite a dramatic change. Because when this was a beautiful bike in somewhere probably around the 1930s, then this is a modern fully electric bike. So there's not much difference, is there? So we wanted to change that, and this is why we created coModule. So coModule's application was built to kill anxieties people have with electric vehicles. So number one, we can visualize range, so we can actually show how far you can get with the vehicle. And here we take into consideration road network, but also altitude data. And I'll come back to that later as well. So, but we also take you there. So we built in turn-by-turn navigation system. And for end consumers, that might not be that important. But for delivery vehicles, for example, it's very important that they also know how much electricity they have left. But most importantly, maybe, we killed anxiety that the vehicle is complicated because we built in frequently asked questions, we built in manuals, we build in social features. Yes, we do build in social features. And most importantly, we also allow the manufacturers to communicate with the end consumer. Everything we do there, we also mirror on smartwatches, so we should have taken part of this hackathon. But yes, we can just upload our app. These things communicate with the vehicle during the Bluetooth. So this is one of the example vehicles here. We work with vehicle manufacturers, so we don't produce our own vehicles. And into this vehicle, we put this little electronics unit. And this electronic unit gathers data from the vehicle and then also sends it to our cloud server. And inside this server, we can aggregate and visualize this data for the manufacturers so they can build better products. So for example, video mapping visualization, we also show them what's exactly going on with different vehicles so they could really understand the battery and motor problem, lower their costs on warranty management, etc. But as I said, we can also, for the first time ever, allow the manufacturers and the dealers to directly communicate with end consumers. So you can say that, hey, you can get a replacement battery today for a cheaper price, or hey, we have a new bike coming out, or hey, we're at the fair, come and visit us. So we create this new channel, and we allow the manufacturers to have much stronger client engagement. So all in all, we have created a full ecosystem for connectivity. And you can think of us as a little bit of Android. There's a number of hardware manufacturers, but if they want connectivity, they can take our solution. And it's important because for cars, these automotive companies have very large R&D resources, and they can do these things in-house. But if you're talking about smaller vehicles, then usually they're not R&D companies, they're more of a branding company. So they buy a lot of components and put them together. So we give peace of mind for end consumers. We allow dealers to do after sales. We allow manufacturers to lower costs, and we can also do a cool thing with rental and fleet companies. And why we do that also is because this value chain of vehicle sales today is very linear and very boring. So you have somebody who makes some components like motors or brakes or gear shifters. Then there's a company who puts them together, and then there's a retailer who sells them, and the customer, and the story ends there. And none of these parties actually know, is the customer happy or not? The manufacturers are it's very difficult for the manufacturers to press retailers to sell their brand because they don't care, they just want to earn their money. So with our technology, we turn this into a bi-directional channel, and we create this feedback loop. And what it allows to do, it allows to create a completely new value chain where the customer is in the center, and it's surrounded by different services, and retailers, manufacturers, as well as component suppliers actually can see how the product actually can kind of live with the product during the whole product life cycle. And this means after sales, it means better experience for the end consumer, etc. So this technology is already awarded. We won Eurobike Gold Award, which is the highest award you can get in the bicycle industry with these guys from Kobach. But before we went there, we thought that, hey, we're a new company and we should make a splash. We should generate some media attention somehow. So we sat down and we discussed, what could we do a little bit differently, something kind of out of the box. And our front-end developer said, but why don't bicycles drive themselves? And I said, that's a completely stupid idea, man. Go back and program. And then the next day we came back and we said, actually, that's a very good idea. So we raised the question of, we all know, at least in this industry, that the future of bikes is going to be electric. Majority of them all is going to be electrified when we talk about utility or everyday vehicles. But we wanted to ask the question, what is the future of electric bicycles? So what is the next steps we can do in this technology with connectivity? And so for that, we built a solution for the Eurobike, which we called the world's first autonomous bike prototype. In reality, it's a bicycle that you can control from your smartphone. Let's see if it works. I sure hope it does. It did beforehand. So when you tilt your phone, the wheels turn, and when you press on the screen, it starts to ride. And we did that just to kind of showcase that if you have this little unit in the vehicle, you can already do so much more. And you can, follow you. You can basically walk your bike as a dog. But I'll tell you why it's useful afterwards. Or you can sit on a bench and see the bike circumnavigating you. So we built this technology, and we kind of thought it's a bit silly, but might get some attention, but it got huge attention, and people got very interested. And even Spiegel Online released a story with me as a very beautiful face on top. So it, you can say it went viral, and it ended up with actually kind of also DHL connecting or communicating and what we can do with this technology and where we could take it further. And the kind of a secret source of this is that we used a very standard cargo bike. And the only thing that we changed is we put a simple industrial motor in front to turn the wheels, but all the smartness is inside this little board, which is basically the same size as the new Raspberry Pi Zero that came out, who's looking at news. So we wanted to show that if these vehicles are connected, it's already, you can think of so many other things to do with it. So for example, of course, everybody would like, pizza to be delivered autonomously to them, or you would like to have a rental bike that would go back. We're probably quite far from that today. But some of the use cases we already saw is, for example, post office or post workers would love their bikes to follow them when they go off the bike on the street. So they cycle the street, they come off, and they go from one post box to another, and the bicycle could follow them. We have actual real interest from a French cleaning company who builds this kind of cleaning bikes that, again, would follow the people who are using the bikes. There are disabled people who could actually cycle, or you could give them the joy of cycling, of somebody actually controlling the bike from a distance. And then think about all these zones where it's dangerous for actually people to circumnavigate some goods. Because electric bicycles as such are not just bicycles, they could be very cheap kind of delivery platforms, electric vehicle platforms. This bike like that costs maybe 3,000 euros, so if it's blown up on a mine, it's not a very big loss. But then, after a month or so, there was this unveiling of the Starship. Who has seen the Starship before? Only a few people, very cool. So this is a thing that was done by my course mates in my hometown, about 2 kilometers from where our offices are, and I didn't know about it. I was actually checking these guys to hire them, and then I found out that they're building something extremely cool. So this is a small robot that will deliver goods to your house on pedestrian sidewalks. And the idea is that they will have small hubs all around the cities, and they go 3 to 4 kilometers an hour, which is when you're walking slowly, calmly, the same speed. And the idea is that it's not a drone, it's not something super complicated technology, it's acceptable for people, and it's safe. And these guys have gotten huge media attention, and the idea is that they can deliver goods to you under $1 and completely revolutionize this technology. There's another company in Lithuania who does something similar and works together with DHL. And then there's MIT in US who has built this kind of a light electric vehicle platform that folds and travels between distances or situations, so you can take the bike, drive somewhere, and then it will drive back. So you see that there's already a lot of use cases for autonomy besides cars. And the point I wanted to make today is that we've talked a lot about how cars map the streets, how they look at the signs, how they're going in very high speeds and have to be autonomous. But some of you could already start mapping pedestrian roads for autonomous drive. It doesn't have to be that detailed, because these things are going slow, but the real revolution might actually be not from cars, but actually from these devices. So this is a frontier that nobody's thinking about, but I think is very interesting. It was super interesting to hear yesterday that some guys were doing it for blind people. So basically this is, yeah, it has much more senses than a blind person, but it's the same idea, to map also pedestrian areas. So just to kind of enlighten you in thinking also in that direction. We're also looking for an algorithm and backend wizard. So if there's any students who are in this data mining, algorithm, physics, maths area, then we're very interested to talk with you. Thank you. This is coModule.
Thanks for the talk. I don't know who else. I think yesterday there was in the news about this MIT device here in Germany. So there was an article in a tech magazine. It was interesting to see that they're also promising a future for sharing, right? For ride sharing, bicycle sharing. They said it was because it solves a huge problem of car sharing also here in Berlin. For those who know, there are some spots where you can find 20 bikes and no one is using them, and then there are 5 bikes and actually they are always gone. So, and their idea was that actually the bike comes to you. So
yes, that's one of the ideas. But actually today, what you can also do with sharings and what we're doing with a company in Swiss is we're connecting each one of the bikes so they actually know where the bikes are. Today, most of the sharing networks are passive, so you just know how many bikes are in the stations. You can't see how they're moving. So
yeah,
there's already a lot what you can do before making them autonomous.
Yeah, cool. Any other question? No.
Hi. Can you talk a bit more about the relationship between the bike and the bike manufacturers? What sort of information do you get from the bike, from those sensors, and how do the manufacturers get act on that information? Because it seems like the Tesla example is very, it's their own, they use their own software and they have their in-house stuff. What I guess the link between you and the manufacturer is a bit more indirect. So if you can talk about that.
Yes, so what we do, it depends very much on the vehicle, which kind of data we get from the vehicle. But in majority of the cases, we always get battery information. We also get battery health, which shows how the battery is depleting, which is very important. We see motor information, we see usage information, etc. So one of the goals is that, for example, if you're building a new product nowadays, nobody has time to do lifetime testing. I mean, car industry is the only one, I think, that really does lifetime testing, and that's changing because others are doing it so fast. So you go to a battery manufacturer, and the battery manufacturer says, hey, these are really good batteries. They're going to last for 5,000 cycles. And they're like, that seems quite a lot, but I have no clue, and I can't test them anyway, so I'll buy them and put them on my bikes. And I say to my client that it's going to last for 5,000 cycles. So what we can do, we can show you actually how long are they lasting actually in the use case. So we basically take the lifetime testing and do it after you have sold the vehicle. How we visualize that, we have our own platform. So we gather all our information in our own platform, and then manufacturers log into that platform where we generate already reports and data visualizations. So that's also the idea. We want to bring connectivity as a service. So everything is connected into this one platform. Because majority of these manufacturers are very, very distant from developing something in-house.
Was it sufficient or? Yeah. Okay. Any other question?
Yeah. Why you have this ordinary bike here?
Because it's electric. So if somebody wants, you can test ride it maybe. If you don't break it. No, I mean, it's an electric bike. It's a very fast electric bike, and it's connected with an app, and we see it online, etc. And these are gonna go on sale with connectivity in February. It's a German company, but I just brought it here because it's a very good point that you asked. Probably most of you thought that it's a regular bike, but it's already electric.
It's always with the future, right?
That's the thing. If you drive it, it's very different from a scooter. When on a scooter, you're very passive. But when you drive that, you feel superhuman. Yes, you feel like, wow, man, I've got legs.
I think this is the same feeling that Tesla is actually selling, right? So, yeah.
Yes, but in that sense, a lot of people won't understand it's an electric bike. So they would just look at, wow, that guy is fit.
Okay. I think just another question.
Hello, my name is Nenad. Very interesting presentation, and it was not more question but more request. I wanted to try to ride it. I have a proper T-shirt as well.
No problem.
Thanks.
Manage that.
Okay, I think we have to ramp up the
Yes.
queue then.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks again. So this is our before lunch session. We have another free talks afterwards. Just a little question. Who's eager to have a talk on the Wherecamp? Anyone? Roland. Okay. More Wherecamp talks? So, okay, second one? Okay. Just want to announce there are some papers in our organization team of the DARE. Please just register your talk. I mean, it's just the headline and your name. Yeah, cool. They look exactly like this. And yeah, because the Wherecamp will start around 4 or a quarter to 4, so that we already know how many speakers we have and we can organize the agenda. So it would be nice if you do this at least, you know, before the next session starts. Thanks, then enjoy the lunch.